Hello, Premier Plus Realty team. This is Jillian Young, and today I am joined by one of your colleagues, one of our incredible realtors, Kim Menkhorst. She has been with Premier Plus Realty for nearly 8 years and has grown her business significantly in that time. And the way that she's grown her business is really interesting and something that I think all of you can learn from. And it's through a really incredible marketing program. She has a marketing background and she uses those skills to make sure that her listings are sold, at the price the sellers want and the amount of time that they're hoping for. And she also assists buyers. She's an incredible agent. So I think that you're going to learn quite a bit from this conversation. What we're going to talk about is marketing strategies. So this is something that she and I have wanted to do for a long time. And Kim, I think something that everyone should know about us is that we're hilarious.
I was just going to finish your sentence and say we're hilarious.
And we're so funny, and that's why you should listen to this.
Exactly, if nothing else.
Like we're the funniest people we know. So yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's true.
It's true. Yes. And then we'll proceed to tell terrible jokes throughout the entire podcast, which is
probably. Yeah.
So when thinking about marketing, I guess we'll just start the conversation by saying, what are some of the challenges that most agents, when they're first starting out, or even when they've hit that plateau, those challenges that they experience in their business? Usually it's due to marketing. So what do you think about those things?
Yeah, I think it's really tough when you start out in real estate because we're all wearing so many hats, right? You've got to be an accountant. You've got to be the salesperson. You've got to be you've got to do your own marketing. I mean, it gets overwhelming because we're a small business, and usually when you're starting, you can't afford to outsource it or do anything like that. So I think where agents miss the mark is not paying enough attention to the marketing part initially. And I get that, I understand why they do it, but I think it's so important to have things look professional. And I think that's where a lot of agents drop the ball. Before I got into real estate, I remember I would come home from work and I would get these real estate postcards in the mail, like we all do, right? And I remember saying to my husband, oh my gosh, one day I am going to start a company for marketing for realtors because this is so cringy. This is like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, no disrespect. But I think that's where a lot of people just don't have the knowledge. I don't expect everyone in real estate to have a marketing background, right? We all have different backgrounds and different skill sets, but I think figuring out a way to learn about it, even a part-time, align yourself. Premier Plus has amazing stuff that you guys have created as a starting point, where it looks professional. Over time, you can make it more customized to what you're wanting. But I think a lot of people just skip over it. Like, I don't know how to do it, so I'm just not going to do it. Or I'll do one piece and it doesn't look cohesive and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I have a listing presentation tomorrow and now I'm just going to pull stuff out and I don't know. And then wonder why, when they're competing against a professional agent, that they don't get the listing. So.
Right. What are those key items that you thought through when you first started your business, in terms of your brand and your marketing?
Yeah, so I think first starting out is a business card, right? And now I always say, like, I'm the worst realtor ever because I don't even carry business cards. I'm like, I don't know. Do I have that? Do I have a name tag?
I don't feel like people really pass those out anymore. I have like the digital one, and I'm just like, here, QR code. Like, I know I've got a whole stack of business cards here. I'm never going to look at that again. So I feel like that's
but I do feel in our antiquated market that they ask for it to be left behind. They ask for it at gates. They ask for it at different places. So, when someone sees it, as silly as I think mine are, and I'm sometimes like, are these even up to date? Did I change stuff on here? People will be impressed when they see it, and it's just as simple as things like, being in marketing, like it's cardstock, it's the good fonts, it's stuff that people just don't think about, and I think can easily get help from, that you could get things on Etsy, you can do it on Canva. Like now there's so many options to do it for free It's just taking the right time to do it and finding people who can help you.
Yeah, we do all the marketing approvals, right, for our agents, and I can't tell you how many of our agents try to design their card from scratch themselves. Like, this is not an art project. This is your
Right.
business. Let's
Right.
the work has already been done for you. Let's use a template. If you want to personalize it or make it more your own with colors, then like you said, do use an online source like Canva or Etsy or 99 Designs or something like that, and let a professional do that. This is not your time to go on Word and send it over to Staples to have it printed.
Yeah.
So
So
it
true.
doesn't it is not a good impression. And so we have all this available to you for you to use, but they're like, but I want, this, that, the other. It's like, okay, great. Go hire someone for literally $20 to have
Right.
them modify this template. It's not.
Right.
But how did
Exactly.
you think through how to differentiate yourself? Because just our brokerage alone has so many agents, and sure, they could all use the Premier branding, but we're pretty into agents branding themselves first. So how did you think through who you were and what was important to you and your brand?
So I want to be straight up here honest about Premier Plus too. That's the reason I'm at Premier Plus. And that's why I came here, because I had worked before I ever had my license. I did marketing for two other agents, one at Sotheby's and one at John R. Wood. And they had, and I know John R. Wood, you can be flexible and stuff. And I'm not saying anything bad about them.
Yeah.
Obviously, their
Mm-hmm.
marketing is great, but it's just being personalized with stuff. There's certain brokerages that won't allow you to personalize things. It has to be your face in black and white, use their postcards, use their this. That's why I came to Premier Plus, so that I could do my own thing and stand out, because I thought, if I don't have the opportunity to showcase myself and what I want in a brand, then I'm never going to be able to compete with these agents who have been doing it for 30 years using the same marketing stuff. So with that being said, that's why I do love Premier Plus.
Well,
But
thanks.
yeah, so I think starting out for my own brand, there were certain things that I wanted to represent with myself. And I think it's an evolving process, right? Like, I mean, where I started with my branding, if I would have showed you, I wanted it to be perfect, but then again, perfect is not done, right? I learned that as well. I hate looking back at what I did at the beginning. I'm still like cringe myself, like, was whatever. But again, it was good for what I needed then. And then it was
Yeah.
like, I could take time to finally get to a point. And it took me years. It's not like I just one day was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to be a realtor and my stuff's amazing. And from day one, absolutely not. Like, it was not. And I
Right.
still, 8 years into it, I'm not 100% where I want to be. Like, yes, I have the brand I like, the colors, the schemes, like, a cohesive brand. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy with where I've gotten, but there's so much stuff I feel like, 3 a.m., my mind's going like, I should do this, I should do that. I still have never done this. It's been 8 years
Yeah.
into it. So I think agents should give themselves a little bit of grace when they're doing this um, as well. But I felt like I needed a logo. I needed something. And for me personally, I didn't want my name. I know a lot of people do, but I was thinking large scale, right? If I grow
Mm-hmm.
a team, if I ever sell my business, like I always think backwards. So I wanted
Mm-hmm.
a Minds Lavish Listings Naples, and I wanted it to be something where if I bring on team members, they can market themselves under that. It's not all about me, right? Because
Right.
real estate, I don't believe is all about the agent. That's a
Mm-hmm.
whole other marketing conversation. But so for me, I wanted a certain look. I wanted a certain brand. I wanted to be authentic, but
Mm-hmm.
professional, right? So I feel like there's that fine line between, if you see the agent that's getting out of the Porsche on the yacht in the gown, that's not me. That's not going to be me. And that's
No,
fine. That
that
is
agent is
fine.
not scrubbing your baseboards
Yeah.
before a showing.
Not cleaning up the
Sorry,
cockroaches
no.
on closing day. Absolutely not. So
That agent is not power washing your driveway.
I know, exactly. And again,
Yeah.
good for them. That's their
Yes,
brand, that's
God
their
bless it.
thing.
Yes, that is
But
awesome.
I do think the way that agents should focus on their own marketing is looking at what they really like, who they are and what they want to portray, right? Like,
Right.
it would be so much work for me to get up every day and, dress like a Barbie. It's just not me. So I
Yeah.
don't put that into my marketing. I try to keep it light and fun. Like, we're here in Florida, it's about the lifestyle here. So I just try to translate that into the brand, people are searching for the lifestyle. So when they're looking at that, obviously that stuff comes up.
Yeah, right. So in terms of, let's talk now about your listings and your listing
Sure.
presentation, because I think you have one of the best listing presentations that I've seen at our company. So, I've only seen like, little bits and pieces here. But I know you can't give away all the cookies, for for that. But what are some things that you absolutely you that are pillars of your listing presentation and your marketing plan, that your sellers really appreciate?
Sure. So I go into every listing and create a custom marketing plan before I even meet with them, right? And then obviously meeting them, I think agents in general are pretty intuitive. So when you meet somebody, at least good ones are, right? You can hear, even when you're listening, you can hear what they're saying and you're like, you don't really want a golf condo. That's not what you want. You actually want a big, huge house on the water. When I'm hearing you talk, you're saying you think you want this, but you don't. So picking up on those cues just from that initial conversation to say, okay, what's important to somebody? What do they want to hear in a listing presentation? There are people who, believe it or not, don't just want the top dollar for their house. They want to be able to stay in it longer. They want to be able to, stay during season or whatever it is. So I think it's customizing that listing presentation to know what they want. The best listing presentations are when you don't even have to pull it out, right? Like that's what I'm trying to get to these days, is not even pulling out the dog and pony show, just kind of having that conversation and saying, okay, here's the marketing strategy, here's the plan, this is what we're going to do. Whether it's staging, whether you don't want to pay for that, that's fine. What about virtual staging? Like there's so many ways that you can make it appealing. And I think agents, don't always think, they just come and say, oh yeah, we're the best marketing person ever. We have a PPR sheet that says we're the best marketing. We have a 22-step marketing program, but they don't actually know how to market or explain to the customer how we're going to do it. If we're going to pass out cookies every day around your street, great, but you better go and tell them and have an actual plan in place, because people can smell when you're not being authentic, and they're going to be like, that doesn't sound right. But when you can go with a clear plan, like, hey, I'm the professional, this is what we're going to do. It's a conversation, right? Like, what do you guys want? Let's talk it through. But okay, it sounds like let's do X, Y, and Z. It sounds like this plan would be better for you. Like, what do you think? This is my plan. Now let's kind of work on it through it together, and then I'll execute it,
So you don't necessarily go in and say, well, this is what I do. This is my proven 10-step process, and this is how, step 1 through 10, and like it or leave it. You go in, you listen first, maybe at that initial conversation. Then what do you give, 1 or 2 days before you actually sit down and meet with them, so that you can gather your thoughts and put data behind their pain points?
Yes, exactly.
And then you come with ideas, and you go in as the guide, right? And this is what we're going to do. I'm the professional guide. I'm going to take your home through this process, and maybe it is passing out cookies.
I do have a 5-step. Yeah, I know. Sorry not to cut you off, but I do have a 5-step process, and I have tried to put it into layman's terms, if you will, because I have learned in marketing, back in the day, I won't bore you with details, but when I was at corporate marketing, I remember we had a, consultant come in, and he basically had a so what stamp, and everything we would do in marketing, it'd be like, so what, so I've sold 1 million homes. So what? How's that going to help me? I'm a #1 top producer. So what? What does that translate to me? Are you going to pick up my phone calls? Are you going to be there when I need you? Are you going to tell me what the actual difference is between these contracts? Am I not going to know that there was a financial contingency and I missed it? Those are things that people care about versus, so I always try to go back and put the so what stamp. So I have the 5 steps process. I have a lavish listing signature method that I go through for people. And it walks you through whether you're buying and selling together. And it goes through my actual, I customized it to what I actually do, not just, I have 5 steps and I do this. No, it's literally, this is what we are doing every step of the way. This is why you want to work with me. And I try to give that out prior to the listing presentation, when I'm just even having calls where I'm in the running for considering talking about it, I give that out. And like my listing presentation, I could share it with all the Premier Plus agents and it has enough information, but it would never like give away my secrets, right? Because the secrets are what I know, the knowledge that all of us have. That's kind of the difference. And I always tell people, like, listen, there's 1,000 agents out there, right? Like, maybe one works better for your personality and that's fine, but this is what I offer. Like, if you want the marketing, the this, the that, the proven strategies, talk to me. If you want the best baker who has the best cookies, like we were saying, great. You know what? Susie Baker is probably the best realtor for your open house, and that's fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings.
Right. My feelings. Yeah.
Although I'd like a cookie,
right.
Offering.
Yeah, right. Kind of make your day there. But so that's so true. So you're willing. You don't necessarily bend to whatever it is that the seller is saying. What their ideas of marketing the property are, or if they're not, if you guys aren't jiving in the listing presentation and you think it's just going to be a rough fit, or they're not, what you offer is not important to them, are you fighting for that listing at that point and trying to say, oh, no, I'll do that, or you cool to just
not anymore, right? Like when I first started all this, it's like, I'm desperate for it. Please give me any nugget, like I'll do whatever. And now I've learned, like I had somebody who, he'll give me all the rave reviews in the world now. But when I went and met with him like 6 months ago, he's like, well, I only want to give a listing for 30 days. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not the best fit for you. And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, you got to stand professional. I was just actually telling one of our PPR agents this yesterday. She was calling me about asking advice on what to do for following up with the listing presentation she had. And I'm like, don't look desperate. Don't go into this like, okay, I'll do whatever you want. You want it $400,000 overpriced? Okay, we'll do it. But I do listen to my people. If they say, well, I think it's worth 1.6 and I'm at 1.5. I just had that this year where I'm like, comps don't support it, but you know what? Let's try it. The market is whatever. And if we don't, you agree that we're going to drop it. No problem. I had 2 full price offers the next day and I'm like,
there you go.
Okay. So, and then there's other times where I'm like, I tell them from the get go, no, it's going to sell for 550. It's going to be between this range, 530, 550 or whatever the price is. And we'll start at 575, but this is your range. And then when we close that, I'm like, you see, oh yeah, you were right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I know it's a little bit of something. What do I know? I only do this for a living, but
part of your presentation, do you talk about a price reduction strategy right off the bat?
Yes. Okay. So I don't have a specific
set that expectation, right?
Yes. I'm all about, I have to credit my husband for this if he ever watches it, but he always tells me in his business, it's about setting expectations, right? And I've learned that from the beginning. I've taken it to heart. I do that with buyers, sellers. I set the expectation at all points, whether it's an offer, the contract. I want you to know what's coming, what could happen. You might not get your product, how you could fight for this. I want you to know all scenarios so that no one can ever come back to me and say, you never told me, and
right.
Please, I don't want to knock on anything, but if no one's ever come back to me and said, well, you never told me that, right? That's like the worst thing I could hear for one of my clients. So setting that expectation up front, I don't necessarily have, some agents will say, oh, we have to drop it 25% or 10%, whatever it is, right? They have a certain strategy at certain points. I don't do that. I usually just come in and say, okay, this is what I believe the range is. Like I just gave an example for and said, okay, if it's going to sell at this, these are your 3 options. You can list it under, you can list it at, you can list it over, but here's what's going to happen when you do all of those. And then you tell me what you're comfortable with. And when we're, $400,000 overpriced, okay, well, we're going to find out real quick what the market's going to tell us when there's crickets, and when there's crickets, you're going to agree that we're going to, yes. Okay. All right. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. And so when it comes to, you do beautiful marketing for all of your listings with photographs, video. What's important to you with that, with real estate photography? You seem to, your listings always look so beautiful. What are your steps in that process?
Yeah, so I always make sure I have a professional photographer do it, no questions asked. If it's a property that is beautiful at night, I think it's important to do those dusk shots too, to show, really kind of visualize my whole thought behind it. And the photographers I work with and the videographer, they know what I'm going for, which is selling that lifestyle, selling that area of Naples, selling that community, the amenities. That's what I'm going for when I do this, because I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast on the psychology of marketing, but that's really what marketing is. I always say that real estate is not sales, and I'll argue all day long with everyone who says it's a sales game. It's not,
Mhm.
it's marketing. So I can't sell you something that you're not in the market for. It just doesn't happen. So to me,
Yeah.
it's marketing the property and getting behind the psychology of what that buyer is going to want to see in a home, and then showcasing that out in the listing, whether it's the photographer, the videos, whatever.
Right. So having those dusk photographs, really, you want the buyer to visualize themselves having dinner with
Yeah,
their
they look
family,
so
like how
good,
beautiful
right?
it
Like,
is. Yeah.
yes. And I
Yeah.
actually, one time, funny enough, somebody had asked me when I was working for another agent, he was like, why are we doing dusk shots? And I actually researched why, like, is there psychology behind it? And I found, and he
Hmm.
was like, okay, it was just kind of a rhetorical question. I didn't really need an answer. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I found the answer for you.
Well, here's the
And
research. This is what
exactly.
it
But
says.
it came and actually showed that people have a more emotional reaction
Hmm.
to those dusky,
Yeah.
shots where you're
That's
kind
where
of
family time
visualizing.
happens. Yeah.
Correct. You're sitting there after a long day,
Right.
you're having dinner, you're watching the kids play in the pool, whatever, entertaining. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why we do it.
It's cozy. It's fun. So, what about virtual tours and Matterport and all of that? Do you typically do that? How do you feel about those options?
I used to do Matterport prior to 2020, right? When it was like a very
Yeah.
dark market, right? Where nothing was ever
Right.
selling, and you do
Right.
everything you can to get it working. And it does work with a lot of virtual, or not virtual, but people who are up north when they're not here in person. It does. I am a little leery because I'm always cautious on the side of safety. I don't necessarily like to do it if there's families that are there, people living there. I feel like it's creepy to know exactly how the house is laid out, and that's just my own paranoia. So I don't like to do that when people are living in the house. But if it's something that it's vacant, and you can kind of walk through it, yes, I do. But I would rather spend money on like virtual staging or something like that to really show how people can use a space than just kind of walking through.
Do you do your own virtual staging or do you hire that out?
Definitely outsource it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not sitting there with the program and like putting couches
No,
there and
there's certain
no,
things I
okay.
know my strengths and weaknesses, and
Yeah.
time is better spent paying someone else to do certain things.
I think the thing that realtors need to remember is that the average person going about their day, they don't necessarily have the strength of vision. So it's vision is hard. That's a
Hmm.
skill, that's a strength that some people have, and good realtors have vision. And a lot of buyers and sellers, they just see the thing for what it is. They can't see the thing for what it could be, and it's more, aspirational identity. So things like staging, things like prepping the house, my goodness, for
Yeah.
photography, um, fresh paint, little cosmetic things, and the dusk photos, tours. They need to be able to do the hard work for them of creating that vision, and then the barrier of entry, the barrier to deciding of whether or not to consider this property is much lower. Realtors who are just slapping up terrible photos that are messy and the home is not right, they are
Yeah.
creating
Toilet
such
seat
a,
up.
a longer barrier, a higher barrier, I guess I should say, of buyers to go, okay, well, I've got to do the mental work of seeing the potential in this
Yeah.
property.
No, it's so true. I've had so many people that will walk in and be like, "Ew, it's blue. I'm not interested. Let's leave." And you're like, "It's paint. This
Yeah,
paint can be fixed to whatever you want." But you're right. They don't see it at all. And I think it's really hard to, I don't know. You gotta kind of set the stage with all of that. And I lost my train of thought on something else. I was
yeah.
gonna say you
Well,
triggered
well,
me,
why don't
but
we go into, okay, so you've got the pictures, right?
yeah.
And then obviously the listing is live. So what sort of distribution are you finding is working and not working? Paid ads, social media, calling your sphere, CRM, like what communication channels or marketing channels are helpful?
Sure. I think social media is probably the best one, getting it
Hmm.
out there, but also this this is not the marketing part of it, but it kind of is. It's marketing yourself, right? Is being nice to other agents. Like,
What?
it's
Wait,
just,
what?
I know, what a concept, right? It's just when you create this relationship, and I have other agents tell me, like, oh, it's so refreshing to work with someone who actually knows what they're doing, or, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is that? That is the saddest comment ever. I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
There's a shark mentality. It's totally like a competitive, like we're back in high school on the track field. Well, let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about track or running, but let's say we're on the volleyball court or the tennis mat.
Sure.
It's more my speed.
Yes.
But there's not a sense that we're all working with each other to for the benefit of the seller. Now, good professional agents, that is their mentality.
Right.
But by and large, we have a lot of agents who think that sort of strong arming the negotiation off the bat,
yelling at each other.
Yeah. And
that's not negotiable.
Okay, yeah, that's not cool. So what about
so having a relationship? Having a relationship with agents, especially when you've done deals together, right, is then when I can pick up the phone or send them, hey, do you have a buyer for this? Do you have a, whatever it is. I'm actually going to do it today. My seller said, hey, I'll take X price. I've got it, in writing to say, reach out to some agents and tell them that even though it's listed at X, we'll take this for it. So that's what I'm going to spend my day doing, is kind of going back and forth.
I just want to pause really quickly because you just said, you just said,
okay, like, let's just be clear.
Kim has her broker associate license, clearly, because she just said a super key compliance point that she is going to call other agents. Presumably some of those agents are not at our company. And presumably you are in a transaction broker relationship where you don't hold the fiduciary responsibility, but you do have the motivation and the lowest price that your seller is willing to go right now. And so she got that in writing, that she is allowed to share that lowest price, which is chef's kiss. Beautiful.
you know me. I play by the rules too much, but that's why when you said you're a C personality, you're concise, and I'm like, I don't think that's me. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, that's not the rules, Jillian. And I'm like, I see what I'm like, I'm by the contract. I am there is no, it's black and white.
There's never been an E&O claim against Kim Menkhorst, knock on wood.
Please never. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, good.
Yes,
okay, so now you're calling other agents saying, hey, my seller has disclosed to me in writing.
Sending them the videos as well, right? So like I usually have created a professional video. I can send it to them to say, hey, send this to your buyers. Here's all the information. Let me cherry pick stuff. So those agents putting it out on social media, I do paid ads. I'm finding they're not that great. I feel like Facebook, they were good for a while. It's changed their algorithm again. It's a full-time job to keep up with how they do things. So it will get leads in, but doesn't necessarily bring a buyer or seller. I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But I do think just connecting with people that are your advocates, right? So on social media, on other agents, whatever. There's nothing wrong with sharing other people's listings, right? You can get a buyer. Like, share, as long as you've got permission to do it, right? Back to my compliance. Well, as long as you have permission to do that, like, why not? Sure, you can share my listings. Like, find a buyer. Is it one thing to say, hey, this is my listing? Okay, that's different. Right. But just to kind of showcase, hey, look at this amazing place near the beach. Like, if you want to live here, call me, or whatever it is. So I think agents don't necessarily... I did that a lot when I first got started, when I didn't have listings. I had a really good friend who was an agent who had great listings, and I'd be like, can I help you? And just for free, but also utilize your stuff. And she's like, sure, that's fine,
Yeah.
And it got
the ball rolling. Again, just as a training note of compliance for anyone watching, as long as with our broker reciprocity rules, if you're using a link that's directly from the MLS so that the data can be updated in real time and go back to the original listing agent, and it's an MLS approved distribution, you can share listings. But if you are now saving that image and just posting it without any sort of link back, it's not the actual MLS link, or you're creating a new marketing material for someone else's listing, or you're altering the marketing or the language in any way, then yeah, you need written permission from that listing broker. So
Sorry.
yeah.
And I also sometimes, like when I have agents who will help me with open houses, I have
Hmm.
no problem taking my face off of things. You know, I'm
Yeah.
here to get the property sold. Like I've made reels about open houses to be like, just post this, it's for you. You know, it doesn't have my
Oh, that's
information
a
on it.
great idea.
It's about that because, you know, a lot of people we talked about, don't have the skill set, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that to say, here, share it, you know, look good, look
Yeah.
professional. That's great. Bring in more people, as many people as you can.
So you create reels, some with you in there, and then some without you, and you share it to other uh, selling agents so that they can share it with their buyers, and as if they
Yeah,
created it.
yeah, especially when
Okay.
it's like, I mean, it's not that I make a full-time job out of this, right? Because like it's hard enough to do all of
Right.
it. But if I had people like Premier Plus agents have helped me on open houses, and you know, sometimes they'll say, well, do you mind if I go take videos prior to it? No, absolutely. Go do your thing, go take, you know, do whatever. But I can also help you by making an open house reel, or, you know, I've got the professional photos so you can use it, or the videos that I already have and use it
Yeah.
without my information. It doesn't need to be about Kim Menkhorst. Like again, so
Yeah.
what? Who cares? You know,
Yeah.
it's not
Who
about
cares?
that.
Let's
It's
get the
about helping
property
the
sold.
seller. Correct.
Right.
Let's get, I mean,
It's the
hey, I
most.
would love for you
Yeah.
guys to get a buyer and bring it, you know, like great.
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Yeah. And I think that that is also um, a rare generosity and kindness that you have, because unfortunately a lot of agents, they do their marketing and ensure that it is always pointed back to them, and so that they could potentially get the buyer first, and that's not
I don't care
always.
about that.
I don't agree that that is the best
Yeah,
and most
yeah,
consumer friendly tactic. The
correct.
point is you're working on behalf of the transaction for the seller. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
just
that's
want all parties can be happy, right? Like it doesn't
yeah,
need to be a selfish, and you know, I know it can be a selfish business, but it doesn't have to be.
yeah,
There's plenty of business to go around if you're kind to
plenty.
others. Mhm.
So okay, so let's recap the process. You do a lot of market research and property research. You create this customized, sort of bespoke listing presentation that addresses the pain points of your seller that you've already had a conversation about prior to the appointment
Psychoanalyzed.
setting.
Yes, yes.
Yes, that you psychoanalyze and thought about at
Mhm.
3 a.m. and you've put this
Correct.
together in a presentation format. So it's not all about you, it's all about the property and solving their problem, and creating the guide and the journey for them to that they will go through that will get them to the goal that they want. Um, but that being said, you do have a signature listing process that you take them through, but you can partition pieces for that. And then you get beautiful photos done. You're a great writer, so beautiful listing description that is always compliant with all fair housing laws, and
Yay. I
yes,
try.
and MLS rules, and and then you work your sphere of colleagues that you enjoy working with, that you know who might have a potential buyer for that area. You send them marketing materials that they can use to share with their buyers. It's not all about you. You share open house marketing things. You're not necessarily doing paid ads because you're finding that that's not been the most effective
I just
strategy.
turned them off yesterday, actually,
Okay, yeah.
because I've been
So
doing them, but I'm like, I don't
it'd be
know. Right now,
interesting
it's
to hear how your sellers respond to you saying it doesn't work, and if they want you to do it anyway.
mhm.
Um, but I
Well, I
think what's
usually
more,
go through. Sorry,
yeah.
not to cut you off,
Oh yeah,
but
no, but I
this
think
is
what's more valuable is like them is you calling that spear. That's way more time. Yeah.
well, and I mean, there's so many tactics that I could go on for hours because I'm a marketing nerd about, you know, SEO and putting it on the website and how to attract people from YouTube and, you know, all the things that I do with these listings. Like there is way more to it, but it gets very detailed. And, you know, most people like sellers, I usually say, hey, I'll go into the details if you want. I'll show you all my back. And they're like, no, we don't care.
No.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Or do you just want to know about the results? Right.
Yeah.
So there is a lot that goes in behind it as well. But yeah, for the most part, it's just the biggest thing I can say in all of real estate and marketing is educating, right? So it's like putting together guides, putting together those listing presentations, putting together
Mm-hmm.
emails that go over. I mean, when I go under contract for the buyer or the seller, there's a next step email. It goes through everything you're going to expect. And then I'm going to be like, by the way, just a reminder, deposits due, or this is whatever it is. But it's about communicating, which is, really part of marketing, right? I mean,
Right.
effective communication. And it's just kind of putting that whole puzzle piece together when it comes to looking pretty, but also giving, what's the word? Not the example, but I'm portraying what I'm
Substance.
trying to portray. Yeah, exactly. Like
Right.
what I'm trying to
Substance
get
and
across.
yeah.
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 So, I mean, there's a lot of steps to it, but I think that when people first get started, like my best advice is to focus on just a few things. So if you're going to do social media, then just focus on that. If you're going to be a door knocker and do whatever, then just focus on that. You can maybe I don't do the TikTok. You're not going to see me, TikTok dancing on my, it's just,
You're pointing.
yeah, the TikTok
Hey,
realtor at Naples. That's not me, but I know TikTok is super effective for
oh
realtors
my
and not
gosh.
just dancing ones, but
And saying that, yeah, we do have agents who have wild success
yeah,
using TikTok.
and it's a thing. But I'm like, if
Yes.
I try to learn TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and
Right.
YouTube, it gets too much. And, we
Right.
are not full-time marketing people as much as I would kind of love to be. We're not. So you only have so
Yeah.
many hours in a day to get it done. So I feel like when you get those standards down for yourself, how you want to market yourself, great. Stick to it, get onto the listings, stick to that, create kind of a process for yourself, because what works for me isn't going to work for everyone else. We're all so different. So it's really kind of figuring out, what do you offer the client? Why are you, what's your selling point specifically? If it's not marketing, it's something else, whether you're a finance, whether you're a bartender, like how it translates to people and getting things sold and marketing that.
Yeah. Right. Though that's a good point. So use your strength that you already have, and try to find the tactic and the strategy that will
Yeah.
complement you, so that you're
Copying
not
me.
always
Right.
going through the, like, if someone who's not you, doesn't have your personality or your drive or interested in the same things, the same strengths, tries to copy exactly what you're doing, it's going to be stressful for them. You're going
Yeah.
to always
Well,
feel like,
yes,
oh, this is so
exactly.
hard. So
Well, that's my other big piece of
yeah.
advice, which I think is so hard for agents to do, myself included. I have to check it, but it's stop comparing yourself to other agents, right? And I know
Yeah.
that's so hard because we're all connected on social media and we're like, we're the best, we're the best, we're the best.
Yeah.
Awards is coming soon. Like, I'm a top producer, I'm a top producer. And
Yeah.
I know it gets very much like, oh, even if I was a top producer, they did better. And like, what am I doing wrong? It's not enough. And it's
Right.
like, no, I create my own goals. I create, my lifestyle, what I want to retire, what I want to this, what I want with my family is different than someone who doesn't have kids and a family, right? Like,
Yes.
it's so
Yes.
different, and that's fine and that's great. So what my
Right.
strategy, like you're saying, my strategy is not going to work for somebody who wants to be a billion-dollar producer. Like, no,
Right.
I don't want to work 24/7, So I'm trying to leverage, marketing and stuff so I don't have to do that. But yeah, it's stop comparing yourself is my biggest advice, because again, you can so easily create a strategy for your own personality and your own strengths. If I sit here and just follow Jillian all day long and be like, she's doing so well, I'm just going to have to copy everything she does, it's not going to be effective. Jillian's already 5 steps ahead of me, right? So like, I'm always going to be catching up. I'm never going to be doing what, Kim does. It's
Right.
so ineffective. And I think, people do that. Like, oh, door knocking's work. Let me do that. Oh, she's posting this. Let me do that. Oh, I'm going to do videos now. I'm going to do reels.
Right.
And then none of it works. So
That's right. Yeah. So you're going wide and chasing something else rather than, I think the first step in not comparing and doing your own thing effectively is knowing who you are and what your strengths are, and then really seeking wise advice on, okay, this is who I am, this is what I like to do, what are my options, and really getting clear on what your marketing strategy is every year, and revisiting that every month, every
yeah.
week, and really taking a hard look and saying, okay, this is who I am, these are my strengths. We actually are one of our top producing agents. She's incredible. She does come from a finance background. So
Mm-hmm.
her strength is not social media. Her strength is doing all the numbers, getting all the data, intact
Yeah.
for her sellers, showing, modeling out financially, because she has a license, to do that,
Sure.
modeling out financially what all the
Compliance.
scenarios are.
Yeah.
Yes. And she comes at things from that angle, and
Yeah, 100%.
negotiating, like she's just really good at the money and the finance and the investment side of it. Um,
Yeah, and I'm more the
doesn't
emotional, like, but
Yeah.
does it make you happy? But it's
Yeah.
beautiful
Do
pool,
you like
right? And your
it?
kids
Do you
could
like
grow up
it? Do you like
here.
me? Do you like? Do you
Your
like
grandkids will just love the pool. Does it
Yes.
matter what the taxes are? No, I'm just kidding.
Nah.
Yeah, I was like, you
But
can
here they
afford it.
are.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So
No, but I
yeah,
think
I
that's
think
so
the
important. And
foundation, yeah, is so important.
when I my also advice that I realized last year, it's taken me all these years to do it, is when I really sat down and went through goals, when an exercise I was doing for some real estate thing, what do I personally want? And then my whole mindset shifted about business, because it's like, I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the best. But then part of me is like, well, I'm doing this to be with my kids. I want, I don't want
Right.
to be working all the time. So it's that fine line when I really defined like, what's important to me? When do I want to retire? Like, I want to
Yeah.
travel. I want to do this. Like, okay, then let's work backwards. I'm not going to be that top producing yacht, sailing agent, because I don't want to work all the time. And then it helped me
Right.
shift my focus into my business goals as well as my personal goals, and like meshing the two, and then staying on my lane, and like you said, I'm a goal person, right? I'm very, yesterday I spent my day too. I already did my goals prior to Q1, and now it's like Q1's over. I'm already, okay, how can I execute these? Because again, I'm trying to stay in my own lane, like, just got to execute what I'm trying to work on to get to my personal goals that are different than Jillian and different than the finance agent and different than everyone,
Yeah. So are you looking at, when you're doing that planning and goal setting, are you looking at analytics from your marketing efforts? Or is it sort of
Yes.
anecdotal, like this feels like it didn't work? Or yeah, how do you make those marketing decisions?
I definitely look at my return on investment. I'm very calculated with every deal that I do. It's like, where did it come from, right? So is this a past client? Did they refer me to someone? Okay, if there's one person, if there's a Jillian who's referring me 10 people a year, guess who I'm going to be focused on to keep happy? It's
Yeah.
going to be that Jillian
Right.
who's referring me, And I think the first couple of years, you just kind of do whatever you can and figure it out. And then when I was spending money on stupid stuff, and I mean, I'm very frugal anyway, but still, I was spending money on stuff that I'm like, okay, if I just do this, probably comparing myself to agents. I can't even remember. It's been so long. But I then went through my spreadsheet of, where did I get these? And I'm like, sphere, 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 sphere. Like, then why am I not taking people out to
Yeah.
lunch or something instead of wasting money on Facebook ads that aren't going to reach anybody, when I could just be nurturing those people that are my advocates. So I think it's really important to figure out, if you mail postcards, like there needs to be a QR code. There needs to be something specific that you are getting a return. You can track it. Is it working? Is it not? And I put little trackers on everything I do, whether it's from social media, whether it's from this. I can go back and look, okay, where is my money being effectively spent and where is it not? So that's where I'm like, okay, that's why I'm shifting from the Facebook ads. And I said, okay, I can take this money and now I have a new plan. And maybe in 3 months it will be not good too. But you know what? I'm going to track it. I'm going to figure out what I feel works, doesn't work. And is it getting me towards my goal or is it not?
Yeah, you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that
Correct,
it's right.
which I think a lot of, and I have done that. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. This was a business I started from scratch. I had no idea what, not like most of us, right? It's just kind of evolves over time. You realize different things. So yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned YouTube a little while back. I know. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, I heard that. Someone just break into your office?
I have these giant Post-it notes on this side of my office that I keep like big ideas
don't
on.
anymore.
Yeah. It decided that was the moment it was lost its stickiness. So
perfect.
Anyway,
didn't like what I had to say. It's okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about your YouTube strategy and what are you doing and how effective is it?
So yes, YouTube is what I am trying to put a lot of my effort into this year. Have I said that and it's already Q1? Yes. But also that is my plan to keep executing. And again, it's hard to do it. Like it's hard to take time to make videos when you're actually trying to sell things and close deals. But so that's something that for me, I wanted to do. I could go through a whole host of reasons why, but I just feel like it was an untapped market that I could maybe be good at. And the first couple times I did it, I was like, I don't know how to talk on camera. And it's like so embarrassing. And I had all these bloopers. And now I'm to the point where when I tell, like, I'm recording my next one tomorrow, the intro and outro, and I told my video guy, like, okay, here's what I want to say, the intro and outro. And I now can do it in one take, and I'm like, boom, let's go. I got things to do. Like, let's get out there. So I think it's just doing it over and over. It's cringy and my kids make fun of me and with my face.
They're like, embrace the cringe though, right?
Yeah, I know.
Because if you're embracing the cringe and you're 5 or 10 steps ahead of the people who are still afraid to get on camera. So
yeah. And it is what it is, right? I figure it's how people see me in person anyway. Like, I'm just now putting it out to the world. Love me or hate me.
Cringe all the time, so might as well just put it on the internet as well. So it
automatically, I know, when I go onto my YouTube, it automatically plays the first one, right? So my kids hear the song and they're like, ugh, are you trying to give yourself another view or something? I'm like, calm down, okay?
Calm down.
Like, just make fun of me constantly. But I've been recognized twice on the random streets. One I went to, he called me directly, not from YouTube, just on a listing. And I showed up and he was like, you the YouTube girl? I saw your video about the school.
No kidding.
Honey, this is the YouTube girl. And I was like,
what?
For like a day.
Okay, hold on.
And at an open house, I did it too.
You too could be on YouTube. Yes.
I tell my kids, I'm sorry, you're going to have to schedule your dinner through my assistant now because like one person recognized me and I think I'm famous now with my 700 subscribers. Like, that's right. I'm practically Kim Kardashian. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and also I had somebody
how effective are your videos? Like, what's your strategy for descriptions and all the things you have to do to be found on that, and what's working for that?
So I try not to focus on real estate is why it's working, because no one cares about real estate unless you're buying or selling. So my strategy is to kind of, I moved here not knowing one person in hundreds of miles from Naples. I had to go explore the city on my own. I came here for a job. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone. I'd never even been here. I was here one time for a conference and never left the hotel. Okay. Like, I had never even visited Naples. So it was getting out and exploring things. And even before I got into real estate, I kind of was drawn towards, oh, you're coming to town? Let me show you what, at some point I was like, should I do a travel blog? Because it was like, let me tell you all the stuff I've actually found and I've actually learned. And so I kind of translated that, because my niche market is relocation and second time residents, buyers and sellers, just people who live here and are usually not here, right? Like, I can help manage everything while they're gone. So that's my niche. And that's why I make videos like this, to kind of attract people, who are coming in that sense, that don't maybe necessarily know enough about Naples. They know they love it, but they don't know what there is to do. And instead of me every time, because, in real estate, when you have a client, they ask you for your opinion on everything, doctors and this and that. So I'm like, why not make videos, right? That I can just share the video with you instead of going through it 100 times. And then I can say, hey, listen, this is a breakdown of all the beaches. These are why you want to go to this beach, why you don't, So it's been good for me. I've gotten a few leads. I'm not where I want to be with that, but it's definitely finally starting to kind of pick up. So I'm happy with that.
So would you say the biggest advantage or the biggest benefit that you're getting from your YouTube channel is brand establishment and brand recognition
Yeah, I have gotten leads from it. Like, I'm working with a buyer right now and I've gotten some good leads and good clients. But yeah, it does. If I go against a Joe Schmo realtor and I say, hey, I'm Kim Menkhorst, and they're like, great, that's fine, we don't care. Again, so what stamp? And this is Joe Schmo, and we both have a listing presentation, and we leave, and they're both like, okay, they were both kind of impressive, I don't know. And they Google me. Well, guess what? I'm going to get the listing 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10, because they're going to say, oh, holy cow, like, you can search anywhere and this girl's all over the internet, and it just gives me more credibility. It helps people relate to me more and not just see me as a pushy realtor, which I'm not. But, realtors, like, I was embarrassed. I told you for the first like couple years because they're like, ugh, another one. Like, run. She's gonna ask me, if you want to buy or sell. So now a good time to buy or sell.
Yeah.
So I just try to come from a place of helping, a place of authenticity to kind of, I don't know, share my little nuggets of knowledge, right, and kind of help people through the process.
So I think that we've covered an amazing amount of marketing strategies, really high level marketing strategy that I think agents can take away some pillars of information and go back and really take a blank piece of paper and a pencil and just brainstorm all of the things that you heard today and start working on their own business. So I really appreciate that. Are there any last thoughts or bits of advice that you feel like we didn't cover that would be important for them to know?
I don't think so. I mean, I could talk for hours about marketing and
I
real
know.
estate, right?
Well, let's do it again.
Yes, I love to share. Like, I like to go to these mentor edge classes and be like, and then yes, let me solve all your problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really think there's anything that we didn't cover. I think it's just really compressing it to being yourself and creating a strategy that works for you, that works for how you do things. Like, you don't have to recreate the wheel, right? It doesn't need to be Kim's strategy of her 5 lavish listing methods. It needs to be, how do you do things already? Just putting that into paper and being able to effectively communicate it to buyers and sellers.
Yeah, I love that. That's incredible. And what's interesting is that I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of our agents about their particular marketing strategy. So I hear such a wide range of things that they're doing that are working and not working. And it is interesting. One agent will say, "Oh, dead set on all digital marketing." One agent will say, I only work with my sphere, and that's what draws 90% of my business." Then you'll have another agent that swears by print advertisements.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, really?
I mean, they do. Listen, I fully believe all of them work. It really does. It's just, how much are you going to do with it? If I send out one postcard and never do it again, and then I can't complain that, like, it takes time. All of this takes time, and it takes money, and it takes effort, and it takes pivoting and figuring out what works and what doesn't. I fully 100% always tell agents, it's all going to work. I know it. Even cold calling, I've never made a cold call in my life. I'm never going to. I don't even like to follow up with people, send digital leads. I'm like, I'm scared. Yeah. Just email me or text me. Yeah, I don't want to talk on the phone. I'm scared. But they work. People do that, and it works 100%. It's just figuring out. That's what I'm saying. If you're a phone person.
Yeah, I just had lunch with one of our teams, and I was like, "Tell me about how you built your business so rapidly." And they're like, "Cold calling. We cold call 2 hours a day without fail, and boom, business exploded." And I'm like, I would be so terrified.
Their confidence level is probably great too, because I would be like in a fetal position, like, why does nobody like me after they're screaming? I get emails like, "Are you still interested?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, buddy, you signed up for my email list. Like, calm down." So I'm not one for rejection. So I feel like it's good. It's a good confidence builder when you're like, don't care too,
Right. Yeah. Well, so all that to say that whether you choose to be in every magazine, do a postcard campaign, do some internet leads, cold call, or just be super kind and nice to your colleagues and build
please do that anyway. Yeah.
Right. Or providing them the marketing materials they need to get your listing sold for your seller. I think whatever the tactic may be, knowing who you are and what your strengths are is the most important first step, for sure.
And being consistent, that's huge. Being consistent. I see so many agents that aren't consistent, and one of the things that kills me too is, like, I try to do I don't use AI. That might be very controversial, right? Like, I know it can be easy, but I'm like, no, I'm making a hard statement that this business is built on me and how I do things and my relationships with people, that I want it to be my words. So, I mean, that's probably very unpopular, but that's my personal choice.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I feel like as I'm kind of moving forward with all of these things with, buyers and sellers and different marketing strategies, it's being consistent in what I'm doing. And like my advice is for people just to keep doing it and not just say, like we talked about, one postcard and one video and one cold call and none of it's going to work, right? You've got to just keep sticking to what you're going to do. And like you said, be confident in what your strengths are. I mean, if you're loving designing postcards, like you do you, boo, right? Like, I mean, get those postcards out there.
Done. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and when I referenced print earlier, it was more in my brain. I was thinking about magazine spreads, which the same agents are forking out the money to do that. Yeah, I don't know.
I've done the ROI on one of those agents for them, and I could tell you, I said, why are you wasting all this money? Well, my sellers like it. It was the response. My sellers feel like their stuff is getting out there. So, I mean, hey, if you can afford to do it and that's part of your listing strategy and it works, who am I to say it doesn't work? But
yeah. See, I said, do we have anything more to say? And here we've
I told you I could talk for hours. That's the problem, right? I can just. No one wants to hear me talk for hours, but I can.
So we've been talking about doing something like this for a very long time, and I was like, I don't know if we're ready. I don't know if it'll be cringy. And I don't know. I
probably
think
will be.
I know. I was going to say maybe 5 years from now we'll look back and we'll be like, oh my gosh, do you remember?
Yeah. Like we're ashamed. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, I think we did good. I'm proud of us.
I think we did good. Good job, Kim. Good job. Yeah. High five. High five.
Good.
So welcome to our first top producing agent marketing focused video. And if you're still listening, I really appreciate it. And I hope you learned a little bit. Give us a like. Smash that subscribe.
That's true. Yeah.
So where can agents reach out to you to find you online?
Probably my Facebook, right? Or I think most of them have my text. I have a lot of agents reach out to me all the time that will be like, hey, it's the weekend, the brokers aren't working, can you help me? I'm like, I can try. So, I'm always available. I mean, not to say anything about you guys, but they just don't want to bother anybody, right? So it's like just a quick question about simple real estate things that another agent would know. Nothing compliance. Right. Don't fret.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, my cell phone is on the PPR site and Facebook. I mean, I don't get notifications on the messenger, but I do check it. So, either one of those, I'll respond.
You got it. All right. Well, thanks. And let's do it again.
Let's do it again. All right. Perfect. I appreciate you having me on. Okay. Talk to you later.
All right.
Okay. Bye.